Y'all, I'm so excited. I just finished watching it. I just finished sending Movie Bad voice memo. We both super excited. The traitors they chosen were perfect. I called two of them, the two that I knew of. I just thought Tony would be a traitor, but Danielle and Boston Rob, I knew that. I knew that was going to happen. But the other two that were chosen, chef's kiss. This is going to be a good season. I'm excited. There's people that stood out to me that I kind of already knew would stand out, but they delivered in this first episode. This is the first episode recap. I have not watched episode 2 or 3. I'm probably going to watch episode 2. Well, I am going to watch episode 2 tomorrow. I might even watch it tonight after I do this, but I'm not going to do the recap until tomorrow. Episode 3 is going to come out on Saturday, so please keep those spoilers out of these comments. I don't want to be spoiled because I like to give y'all natural reactions like this one. But very solid premiere episode. There's a lot of the cast that I wasn't too familiar with, but I'm excited about the ones that were in the forefront that I kind of already expected to have a presence here. But if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. Do that. Turn post notifications on all because I'm going to drop them every single week. I think we only got 3 this week. The rest are going to be single episode weeks, which is so much easier for me. But yeah, I'm going to drop them every Thursday night. Be in the comments. Engagement helps so much. Hit that thumbs up on the video. That also helps so much to bring more people here. I want to have more conversations. If you watched me last season, welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. Let's go, because I'm excited. Let's do it. Alright, so we are going to go ahead and jump straight into this. If you missed my cast analysis, go check that out. I'm not going to talk too much about who they are and where they're from. But we get everybody arriving to the castle. They're in their cars, as we all know. Everybody's mixing and mingling a little bit in the cars, kind of getting excited, talking about how excited they are, who they want and what not to see. Dylan Efron, he does not want to see Tony because Tony is a Survivor legend. He's very cutthroat. He plays the game. Danielle does not want to see Britney Haynes from Big Brother because if you didn't watch the reindeer games, Britney is the reason Danielle got sent home. She stabbed her in the back. And Danielle don't want to see her there, which I do want to see her there because I want to see this mess unfold. But they're arriving at the castle now. Everybody's getting excited, getting anxious about going in there. We see Nikki and Gabby. That's a duo as well. Nikki, I was very proud and excited to see her presence. I wanted to see how Nikki was going to be on this show. She seems like she's gaming. She seems like she's going to have an interesting point in this, an interesting focal point in this particular game. But Gabby, I love me some Gabby. I did not watch her on The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, but I watched her on Dancing with the Stars. Fell in love with her immediately. I love her personality. I love the way she talks. She's smart, though. Like, she can play that role where she's kind of ditzy, kind of coming off as ditzy. But Gabby is smart, and she showed it throughout this episode that she's in tune. She knows what's going on. But they see Tom Sandoval from Vanderpump Rules. Gabby says she ain't saying shit to him. She don't like him. Nikki don't like him. It's clear. Jeremy, we see Jeremy, who I don't think I've watched his season of Survivor, but he's very familiar. So maybe I did. I didn't recognize him on the damn thing, though, when I did my recap. But him and Tony is the reason that he got sent home on Survivor. But he knows essentially like a comforting face, somebody that knows me could be good for me to have on my side. So at this point, instead of me kind of holding on to that right now, let me just grab him in. Carolyn, also Survivor, comes in as well and sees them standing there. She's excited. She's a big fan of both of them, but she's scared because she knows the type of players that they are. But we see Dorinda and Robyn. They're excited to see each other, that housewife connection. Dylan Efron, he feels like he's an underdog. Like, he is Zac Efron's brother. I know he's an actor, but I don't know too much about him as an actor either. So essentially, he's in here with all these titans that play games, these type of games on TV. There's the housewives over here. So he kind of feels like, probably like he shouldn't be there. But he feels like an underdog in there with a bunch of gamers. But Britney sees Danielle. Her stomach drops, as it should, because Danielle is Danielle. You should never... I know you playing the game for you, but Danielle is the queen. You can't take out the queen. The queen needs to win. But Danielle gets emotional when she sees her. And Britney's pretty much getting emotional too, apologizing, stating that it hurt her to see Danielle so upset about what she did. And Danielle was like, yeah, it hurt me. I was angry at myself. And she's saying this in her confessional, that she was angry at herself for believing and trusting in somebody, but she will not make that mistake again. I'm like, I'm glad you said that, because no, don't trust these people, Danny. But she said she'll forgive Britney, but she will not forget. AKA, look, if I get the shot, you out of here. But Alan arrives. He's on his horse. Everybody's excited. They have all of these people hooded, masked up. We'll talk about why that's significant in a minute. But he welcomes everybody to the castle, lets them know how the game is being played, lets them know that before the day is done, the traitors will be chosen. He runs them through the purpose of the game and lets them know $250K is on the line. If any traitor remains at the end, they'll take all the money. He shoos off the other hooded ones and leaves one. And I'm like, that's Boston Rob. Because, like, where the fuck is he at? Like, we know he's supposed to be here, but where the fuck is he at? And Alan brings him over. He's still hooded and masked up. And he pretty much says that there's somebody who's dying to join the game. And he says, if anyone wants them to join the game, come forward and shake my hand. But then he tells them, obviously, there's always a twist. That person that shakes my hand, you're going to have to choose one of these people that are out here right now and send their ass home. Like, that's what you get. You bring one in, you send one out. I wanted to see it happen. But Britney, she's expecting Danielle to go up there and do it just so she can get her ass out of there. That would have made sense, but it's too obvious. It's too quick to do that. But Alan ends up having the masked person reveal themselves, and it is Boston Rob. I was like, thank God. But Tony and Jeremy, they start laughing because they know exactly who the fuck he is. Danielle looking like, ugh, why the fuck is he here? She know who he is. Damn near everybody there knew who he was, which lets you know, like, Survivor, he's a legend. He's one of the best to ever play the game. One of the best. Deal or No Deal Island. I still have not finished his season, but I know he probably got to the end. If he didn't win, he got to the end and probably got robbed. But he's one of those names, if you are a reality TV game show watcher, you know who the fuck he is. You know who he is. But Tony was like, there's no way I'm stepping up to bring him in here, obviously, because that's your biggest competition besides Danielle and Jeremy. But Alan asked Rob, why should you be welcomed into the game at the expense of somebody else? And Rob is pretty much saying, like, I know my reputation of being this big gamer and whatever, but bringing me in allows that person that brings me in to gain an ally. But also, you have the ability to get somebody out that could be one of your predecessors, somebody that could be an adversary to you. But he ends up telling them to ask themselves, pretty much saying, ask yourself, would I rather be exiled or would I rather be the one doing the exiling? That's a good question. Carolyn's sitting there thinking about it. She's like, is this my chance to get Tony up out of here? But if I do that, would Jeremy be mad? It's like, would he be mad because Tony is the reason he lost? But then again, you want to keep the numbers on your side. If you have more numbers, that's 5 survivors, if I'm remembering correct. No, is that 5? It's 4. You got Tony, Jeremy, Carolyn, and Boston Rob. That could be a 4. That could be numbers in your favor. But there's a lot of things to think about really, really quick. But Alan was like, step forward. If you want to bring Rob in the game, step forward because you're about to exile somebody. Danielle said she wanted to go up and shake that man's hand and tell Britney to get to stepping. But she don't want Rob in the house. Why the fuck would she want somebody in the house that is a threat to her? She knew it. And I knew it. I was like, I told y'all that. I said, these two going to be like this. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. But Carolyn, she is contemplating getting Tony out, like I just said. But she also knows that Rob is a gamer too. So it's like, who's the worst option? Do I want to bring Rob in and still have an issue? Or keep Tony here, who is an issue? But it's like, which one's going to be the bigger issue at this point? But Alan starts counting down and nobody goes up because, I mean, shit, who the fuck? I wouldn't go up there and shake his hand to bring Rob in. I wouldn't. Like, Rob is playing with a full deck of cards right there. But Alan ends up saying that they're sticking together by making this decision, but every decision has a consequence. I was like, oh yeah, he coming in. Ain't no way to just send him home. But the masked guards come over and take Rob away, and he's frustrated. He's calling them idiots and stuff, saying they're not allowing me in the game based off of my history, and it's some bullshit. I'm like, you should have known they wasn't going to willingly want to make you come in the game. But I'm like, you know you're going to be back. They ain't just bring you out there for no reason. But and not just you. If you was somebody random, maybe. But you're Boston Rob. But Alan then tells everybody to go inside so they can go mix and mingle and everything. So they head on in. They're walking around checking out the castle. You got Nikki, Gabby and Carolyn, they're all noticing Sam is Britney Spears' ex. They knew who he was. Ayan, Chanel Ayan, don't know what the fuck is going on. Just like I knew. I knew she wouldn't. But Dylan and Bob, they thought that Tony or Survivor would have stepped up to bring Boston Robyn to the game, and they're shocked that he didn't do it. Gabby said, like, he was super humble in the car. Like, Tony didn't really say too much. I'm like, Gabby, that's him playing the game. And I'm like, maybe she was saying that, but maybe Gabby also knew, but we'll see. But they're telling her he's a ruthless player. He's won Survivor twice. All that is true. But Tony is he's saying too, like, I came in here wanting to be a faithful, telling this to Carolyn. And Carolyn said, that's bullshit. I'm like, yeah, you know it's bullshit. Tony sitting there smirking. Jeremy sitting there smirking. They all know it's bullshit. But Carolyn said, I'll be watching. But Tony said, I'm trying to be convincing to her. He's saying this in his confessional. I'm trying to be convincing, but I know, I mean, it's not true. We know I want to be here to be a traitor. Like, if you're a real gamer like him, Jeremy, Danielle, Boston Rob, Carolyn, those type of players, they want to be a traitor. You don't want to be a faithful. Like, being a faithful, you just sitting there hoping that you don't get picked. I would much rather, me personally, I would want to be a traitor too. That's what I need to, that's going to be a goal of mine, to get on somebody's reality TV show this year. So I can eventually get on this show, because I want to play this game. But he's saying all that. Carolyn said, don't tell me that y'all ain't come here to play. Like, I know y'all came here to play. And Wells is in there with all the Survivor folks, and he knows that they just waiting to fuck somebody over. That's the nature of Survivor. Like, you're literally playing for yourself for $1 million. Like, that's just what it is. But he gets up out of there. Bob and the Housewives, they're outside looking at a peacock, which is Robyn, Dorinda, and Dolores. They're outside. Wells is in there with Danielle, Gabby, Nikki, Tony, Chrishell, Ciara, and did I say Danielle? Danielle. Ayan and Bob, which one was it? I think it was Bob Harper. They were playing in the kitchen. But they're in that room talking. Gabby's asking pretty much, what do we know Ivar from? I'm like, good, because I don't know who the fuck he is. I really don't know who he is, but he's the king of England is his second cousin. Gabby sitting there sizing him up, knows he's media trained, knows he's very diplomatic. She's like, that's a red flag. I'm like, yep, you know, pay attention. But they get to the round table. It's time to start picking those traitors. I was excited. Geeked. Anytime you see a round table when it comes to this show, I get super excited. Because you know it's going to be some drama. You know it's going to be some shit. But he welcomes them to the round table, tells them, study everybody. Like, this is your last time all being here on the same equal playing field. Once I go around and start tapping, you got traitors around here. You got to figure out who it is. So they show clips of each individual kind of like pleading their case to Alan, telling if they want to be a faithful, if they want to be a traitor. Tony and Britney want to be traitors. Duh, they gamers. Sandoval feels that he would not be a good traitor, and I'm like, yeah, I want to see him as a traitor just because of that. Like, it just would make sense too. But then again, it's just like, it would be obvious, and I feel like most people would think it would be obvious for him to be a traitor. But Alan, he starts walking around, letting them know, if you feel me touch you on your shoulder, you are a traitor. And he makes them blindfold themselves. I'm like, here we go. So he starts walking around. The first person he tapped is the motherfucking queen. I told y'all the queen was going to get tapped to be a traitor. It's Danielle. I said, yes. Because I want to see mama play the game. I want to see her play for real. And she said, this is the game I was meant to play. Like, I cannot wait to take people out one by one. I've never been so happy to be bad in my life. That's what she was saying. I'm like, yeah, I've never been so happy to see you play a game. But Carolyn, she got tapped second. She starts smiling, licking her lips, saying I wanted to jump up and down and scream. I'm like, the way she was licking her lips and moving her mouth, I'm like, somebody probably heard her. No, I'm shocked, but I feel like I would have heard some type of move. She was licking her lips, smiling and stuff, doing that, making movements. You start to, like, when you start moving your mouth and licking, that stuff makes noise. I don't know how nobody didn't pick up on it, but maybe it wasn't as loud as I thought it would have been. But Alan starts walking around, and he starts walking around to Tony. And he's about to tap Tony, and they go to commercial, and I'm sitting there like, oh, we eating good. We got Danielle, we got Carolyn, and we got Tony. I said, oh, yeah, we about to eat. Come back from the break, and he skips Tony and goes straight to Bob the drag queen. Y'all let me know if Bob the drag queen's pronouns are he, she, they, them. I do not want to disrespect Bob, so y'all let me know. I heard he a lot this episode, so I'm assuming that. Bob the drag queen, I ain't know nothing about him. I don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race, so I don't know. But Bob, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. After this first episode, I'm a fan. Very entertaining. I feel like Bob and Danielle together, that's going to be that duo, and I hope they work out. But I'm with it. I'm with it. We got 3 solid traitors right now. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. They removed their blindfolds. Everybody's sitting looking around. The main one that's really looking around, looking at everybody like, what the fuck? Tom Sandoval. I'm like, you of all people, but okay. Carolyn immediately starts drinking water, looking obvious if you asking me, but everybody's sitting around looking. Like I said, Sandoval is looking everybody in their eyes, trying to figure out who it is. Bob is noticing, the drag queen, is noticing Sandoval looking at him. He's like, why the fuck are you looking at me? Like, what you looking at? And Alan ends up telling the traitors they'll discover each other's identities when they make their first killing tonight. So Alan ends up telling the traitors that he lets the faithfuls know y'all must banish the traitors, and it's more important now than it ever has been in the game, because there's going to be a change, which I absolutely love this change. Love it. He said those that make it to the end, they will no longer reveal whether they are a traitor as they leave, which is good. Because once that stuff, because say somebody is going back and forth with a traitor and a traitor ends up getting revealed, and it's like, oh, so you was onto something. Maybe you a traitor too. That makes it a little bit easier to kind of suspect somebody. It's going to make it so much harder, which is going to make it so much more entertaining. This is going to be so good. This is going to be so good. But he's like, you're essentially going to have to rely on your instinct, and that's true. But he tells them to look around, figure out who the traitors are. He heads off. Everybody's sitting there sighing like, oh shit, what's going on? Everybody's looking around. Chrishell's telling Tony that he's going to have to help her if he's a faithful. Like, you a faithful, you going to have to help us because we know you smart. We know you know how to play the game. And Tony is mad that he ain't no traitor, obviously. Like, he wanted to be a traitor. But Tony also knows it's an uphill battle with him being a faithful because people are going to already suspect him as a traitor. So he's going to have to find a way to make them believe that he actually is a faithful, which he is. But they head off to go mingle and everything, and Danielle and Carolyn, they're walking off together, unknowingly knowing that they are both traitors. But they talking about how Alan kept walking around pausing and stuff. Sandoval is telling Robyn that Chrishell kind of hunched whenever he was walking around. Robin's like, yes, her. I'm like, okay, Sheree 2.0. You don't know what the fuck he's talking about, but keep playing it up. But Sandoval, he ends up saying that Chrishell seemed off and kind of scared. And Tony, and he's talking to a lot of people now at this point. And Tony's feeding into it, saying she was just doing all this, just talking too much. Chrishell's outside with Nikki and Gabby, which that's like a trio. And Nikki's like, Sandoval was sitting there looking around, looking all weird, looking hard. And I'm like, yeah, pay attention to him. But Sandoval's in there with a group now. There's a group of them in there now. And him and Tony are pretty much kind of like letting them know, hey, watch Chrishell. Like, she was telling me, Tony says, Chrishell was telling me how much I'm going to need your help. Like, we need you. And Dylan's pretty much saying, like, it's too early to be throwing out names right now. Like, I want to play a true, faithful game. We know you do. Like, I just don't see. I was looking at Dylan like he could possibly end up being like, what was the old boy's name? The Bachelor from last season. I forget his name already. But we'll see. We'll see. He might. But Bob, Harper, Jeremy, and Bob the drag queen, they're in what looks to be the kitchen area, if I'm remembering correctly. And they're talking, and Bob the drag queen says in his confessional, I love being a traitor. Like, I love playing. Like, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I love leaning into it. And you can tell he's excited playing it. But Jeremy ends up saying, I feel relieved knowing that I'm a faithful now. But also, I know we're going to be victims at this point. Like, we sitting ducks waiting to get murdered. And Bob is like, who would be murdering you? Like, who do you think would murder you? Asking him if he has a relationship with Carolyn. I'm like, it's interesting that you're saying that because she's also a traitor with you. But Jeremy's like, no, I don't have no relationship with her. And Bob is like, she scares me. Jeremy ends up saying if she is a traitor, we can sniff it out because I just don't feel like there's any way that she would be a traitor. And I can see why he would feel that way because she is just so sporadic. And she's just like everything. You feel like you see everything off of her, like her emotions, the way she feels. It just looks like she would be easy to guess. I thought so, but apparently they don't see it. But Carolyn and Danielle, they're in there talking to Sandoval, and he's pretty much saying like the same thing. Carolyn is always twitching, so I would know if you're a traitor, and at this point, I'm not suspecting you. She's excited about that, obviously. But Sandoval also ends up telling Danielle that he feels confident with them, and Danielle is feeling good. Like, nobody's paying her any mind, which they better not. But Tony and Britney, they're walking around. Dylan's in a room with Chrishell, Danielle, and Nikki, telling Chrishell when they first walked out, Sandoval had mentioned her being suspicious. And she like, do you think he's doing that because I'm friends with Ariana, which is his ex-girlfriend that he cheated on? And Nikki was like, that's sabotage. Like, he's trying to sabotage you. And Chrishell's like, I know he probably knows that I have some type of bias towards him because of my friendship with Ariana, because I kind of already have an opinion of you because of the way that you treated her. But she's like, if the ship comes down on me, I'm taking his ass with me. But it's time for the mission. Hopefully I get it right. When it comes to these missions, I'm like, ugh. I got to really pay attention to get these notes out, to get it relayed to y'all. But they meet Alan out there. There's this boat. I'm about to read it verbatim. There's a boat they have to row across, even though I watched it so I can kind of explain it. But there's a boat. They have to row this across what looks to be like, what do you call it, a stream or a lake, whatever the fuck. There's checkpoints out there. Some are going to have fuel, some are going to have money. So they have to collect all the fuel to get it back to the ring that they're going to have to all stand in on a shield to set the ring on fire. There's other checkpoints. There's $40,000 worth of gold out there. Any gold that's placed within that ring, within the time limit, will be added to the pot. And any players that are standing on that shield, when it's set on fire, will get a shield and will be protected from murder, the first murder. So, if they fail, they get nothing. And everybody will be up for murder. But they have 75 minutes to get it completed. They begin. Ciara and Wells, they are pretty much the two that are kind of leading the group as they row out there to the checkpoints. And everybody's struggling. The first, 10 minutes, they're struggling. But Bob, the drag queen, ends up saying, like, we're going to make this noise. So whenever somebody says this, you do this. So they finally kind of do it and, like, getting a rhythm to go. And that's essentially what it is. When you're rowing, y'all can't all just be doing this. Y'all got to be in sync. Something's got to work. So it eventually starts working. They get to the first checkpoint. Tony jumps off the boat to get to the fuel, and they see that there's a message there stating that to take the fuel, 2 players must be sacrificed and remain shackled on the raft until the end of the mission, and they will not be protected from murder. So at this point, you saying, okay, I'm taking a chance on y'all. Like, I don't have the possibility or a chance to even get back over here and get on this shield and be good for the night. So, I'm like, it's about to get good. Danielle said, hell no, I'm not doing it. As I wouldn't do it either. Ayan's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, she don't know what's going on. But Tony ends up saying, I'm not sacrificing myself. Of course he ain't, because he's not a traitor. So at this point, he needs a shield. But Carolyn ends up saying she got to play it like she needs a shield. And they start trying to figure out who's going to get sacrificed, and Robyn volunteers herself. Duh. Ivar says one more girl. I'm like, what you mean one more girl? Like, you looking crazy already. You setting yourself up with the women. They ain't going to want to be with you. And they going to want you up out of here. Chrishell obviously was not feeling that. Gabby wasn't feeling it. Nikki wasn't feeling it. But Ayan, she ends up starting to get up. And she gets over there, and Bob says, this means you can't be protected from murder. I'm like, Ayan, wake up. She wasn't even thinking. She got off the boat and was over there with Robyn, and she immediately started regretting it as they're rowing off. I'm like, it's too late now. But the two that don't know what's going on were the first two to volunteer. But they row on out to that second checkpoint. This one has the money, $20K. They have to sacrifice so each time you get to a checkpoint, you're going to have to sacrifice 2 people. So they have 55 minutes left at this point. Gabby is realizing we probably going to lose about 10 people. There's 5 options. There's 5 checkpoints out here. That's 10 players that's going to be sacrificed. Dorinda and Dolores, they sacrificed themselves. So now that it's 4 housewives that have sacrificed themselves. The only 4 left. Like, all 4 housewives are out there on the boats. But Danielle is trying to figure out who is a part of the killing crew, a.k.a. who is a fellow traitor with her. She noticed how Dorinda jumped off so carelessly, which makes her think that she could be a traitor. Wells is focusing in on the fact that all the housewives have volunteered, and Robyn and Ayan are sitting over there looking, seeing that it's 2 more housewives, and Dolores then realized, wait, it's 4 housewives out here. We look suspicious as fuck. Dorinda looking like, oh shit, like, what do we just do? It's too late. It's too late. But the next checkpoint, 2 more got to be sacrificed to get the fuel. Ivar still running his stupid mouth saying we need strong guys to get back. So you're not helping your case. You're making it look like you want all the women to be eliminated. That's not going to look good for you because all the women are going to get you first. When it comes to any man, they're going to get him first. But Bob the Drag Queen stands up for the women, which I feel it could be strategic, but I feel like it's genuinely the way Bob the Drag Queen feels. He vouching for the girls. It's like, we got to get a guy off of here. There's 4 women out here right now. It looks like we literally are trying to pick off all the women. Because the women are going to be the ones that are not going to be protected. The men get back over there and get on that shield. They protected. The women are still sitting out here unprotected. So it looks like it's a bunch of men trying to get the women kicked off. But Gabby is telling Ivar, Bob's got a point. Like, you trying to get all the women off of here. And Nikki is sitting there looking like, what the fuck? But Bob Harper ends up saying, because Ivar was saying, we need to finish it, a.k.a. we need strong people here. And Bob Harper's like, look at Nikki. Like, Nikki is a WWE wrestler. Like, she's stronger than me. Danielle, playing it. She playing it. She volunteers herself, and Bob is trying to get another person to do it. And he wants to do it. He wants it to be another person that's not a woman instead of Danielle doing it. Danielle is crying, playing it up. Like, man, I'm going to do it. I said, play that thing, mama. Play it. Britney Spears' ex is feeling bad for Danielle. Like, it's working. I'm like, Danielle is playing it. But Danielle and Bob, they sacrifice themselves. They're out there. They're talking now. This is where I'm like, oh, this could be a good duo. They don't realize that they're both traitors, but they're sitting there talking. And Danielle's like, do you have any idea who you think would be a traitor? And he's like, I have my suspicions. But Danielle's like, I'm a human lie detector. Like, that's why I like being a faithful. She's kind of playing like she's a faithful. And she's like, I can read people. Like, it is what it is. I want to see who's going to lie to me. But the next checkpoint, they get there, there's fuel, they have to sacrifice again. Britney's saying, look, it's been all women. We ain't doing it no more. Bob Harper and Sam volunteered themselves. 40 minutes left. They're now trying to decide if it's worth it to go to the other checkpoint to get some more money. And Britney's like, no, I'd rather go home. I'd rather go back over there and get a shield. Like, they all decide to eventually go ahead and go back instead of losing 2 people. Gabby and Nikki, like I said, that's a duo. They both are annoyed by the men not choosing to go sacrifice themselves and go get some more money. But Gabby ends up saying they can't keep letting these men break them down. And when she said, when I say men, I mean Tony. I'm like, oh, so you paying attention to Tony, not Ivar. But they start rowing back. As they're rowing back, they pass Dorinda and Dolores, and they let them know they didn't get that last bag of money. Both of them are not happy about it. They're like, we just sacrificed ourselves for y'all not to get as much money that you could get to add to this pipe. But they get back to the land. They start lighting everything up. Everybody's in the shield. They lit it up, finished the mission, I think, with 30 minutes left. So everybody else is safe for murder. Everybody else is safe. Alan's congratulating them. They're all standing there except for the ones that are sacrificed. They still out there in the middle of the damn lake or whatever the fuck you want to call it, the stream. But he lets them know that they've added $20,000 to the pipe and they will be shielded from murder tonight. However, without a shield, the ones that are without a shield, they're going to be sacrificed. One of them are going to be dead. And I'm like, it's going to be one of the housewives because Danielle and Bob, they are traitors. So we losing a housewife, which if I'm going to choose one, it would have to be between... It honestly would have to be between the other 3. Dorinda gave great entertainment. Great entertainment. If it was up to me, I would send Dolores home because I feel like Ayan and Robyn, when pressed, are going to give us good TV. Dolores don't give me good TV. But the shielded, they head on off to their cars to go back to the house. And the sacrifice are seeing them leaving. Like, we're still the fuck out here and we cold. Like, they out there in the middle of that water in Scotland, like, freezing. And they seen them going back to the house. And Danielle is playing it up, talking about how pissed she is and wants to go home. But back at the castle, they're sitting in there eating and everything. The ones that are safe. Sacrificed are making their way back home. And Robyn's in the car with Ayan, Dolores, and Bob the Drag Queen. And she's saying, like, there's a possibility that there were some traitors out there on the platforms with us. Bob's sitting there trying to deflect, saying, like, if I was a traitor, I would stay to the end to hide the fact that I am one. Of course, they're going to eat that up. But Dorinda ends up saying, like, if I'm not murdered tonight, I'm going to remember every single one of the people that was still on that boat. AKA, every last one of them got a target on their bag. But Gabby, she is telling Nikki, Britney, Chrishell, and Carolyn that she thinks that there was a traitor on the boat and also thinks that there was a traitor on that raft. And she said, because if I was a traitor, I would try and stay on that raft to kind of prove to people that I'm a good guy. Like, I need a shield. But I don't know what I just said, but whatever. But she feels that Bob the drag queen was forced to tears to go ahead and jump out there and sacrifice himself. The girls love him. They love the fact that Bob spoke up for him. Bob is not in anybody's crosshairs. Bob is a traitor, but they're not suspecting that because of what Bob did. But the sacrifice, they get there to the house. They see that the food that they have as a cast, they got leftovers. Half the food, not even half, probably less than half, is there, and they pretty much getting scraps. Bob said, I'm going to get this food, but whenever I finish, I got some words for these folks. And Ayan's like, they ain't even leave us enough food. Like, what the fuck? They sitting here eating and shit. But Dolores is mad because y'all ain't even wait for us to eat. Like, we've been sitting out here cold. Y'all good and safe. We got to worry about going home possibly. And y'all ain't even give us no food. Like, what the fuck? But Bob, the drag queen, is storming around the house, finds a group of people, comes in there talking about how horrible it was. And Bob goes in that area where Jeremy, Tony, Dylan, Ciara, and Ivar are and asks them how much time they had left whenever they finished. And Ciara said 20 minutes. He starts spinning around that chair. I started laughing because Jeremy and Tony trying to talk him off a ledge. And Bob goes to go get the other sacrifice because he's like, they need to hear this. Like, where they at? And he like, they in here. Danielle said, I don't care. Fuck them. And Dorinda was like, I know, right? Like, what? But Danielle, she walks in and Tony is asking if she's all right. And she's like, no, I'm not. Like, leave me the fuck alone. Danielle playing it up. And Jeremy's trying to pull her in. And she's like, I'm good. Just let me have my moment. She said, I am annoyed because they left all that money out there. That part, she's not playing up. She mad that they left that money out there. She want as much money at the end that she can play for. But she also knows that playing this up is going to make her look like a faithful, which is good because ain't nobody suspecting Danielle. And I don't need them to because I want Danielle to be here all the way to the end. I'm going to tell y'all right now, my favorites right now, the ones that I want to the end, Danielle, Jeremy, Bob the drag queen, Dorinda, Gabby. I want those to go as far as possible right now. Those are my Tony too. And Boston Rob. I want some good game. But Sandoval comes in there because Danielle's in there eating by herself. Comes in hugging her, apologizing. And he ends up walking out. And Danielle is sitting there smirking like, I got your ass. But Bob Harper, he's telling the girls like, it sucked being out here. It sucked being out there. Is it Bob Harper? Yeah, Bob Harper was telling the girls that it sucked being out there because it was miserable, and was it Bob Harper? It must have been Bob the drag queen, because he said that one of us is getting murdered tonight. Yeah, it must have been Bob the drag queen. But Dylan, he's telling Dorinda, Dolores, Ayan, and Sam that they got $20,000. Dorinda, this was so funny. Dorinda said, why y'all ain't go out there and get that 5th checkpoint? Like, why y'all ain't go out there and get some more money? He said, we were all tired. She said, y'all might be tired, but one of us is getting murdered tonight. Tony's standing there just letting Dylan do all the talking, catching the heat. But Dylan said, we feel bad. Dorinda looks over to Dolores and says, they felt bad. They sacrificed the money for our lives. That's how bad they felt. We're eating their leftovers, but we're going to be the ones murdered tonight. I started dying laughing. But Dorinda said, she said, I ain't seen no effort. Like, I went out here and sacrificed myself. I would have never done that shit if I knew that this team effort that we was trying to act like we was doing this for the team. If I knew the team wasn't going to be a team, I would have never did that shit. That's pretty much what she's saying. And Dylan's also realizing in his confessionals that even though she's doing this, she could be a traitor. Like, it could be her. But Jeremy ends up saying, I'm like, Jeremy, don't do this. Don't make yourself end up being a target. But Jeremy says, let me ask you a question. Say I'm a traitor and I jump off first. Does that make me any better? Dorinda says, that means you have an agenda. He says, so how you know people don't have an agenda? Dorinda says, I don't. She said, when Dolores got off, I looked at her like, that's a mother. That's a housewife. That's a real woman out here doing something for the team. And Ivar, you should have just sat back and shut up and tried to get the heat off of you, said that's somebody that could be a traitor. Granted, that is true, but you ain't in good graces with none of the women, so you need to shut up and just try and figure out a way to get in good with them. Dorinda said, I didn't even see you move, Ivar. Like, you ain't even try to go get off there and volunteer yourself. Like, she's like, man, fuck you, shut up. But Bob is telling the others, Bob the drag queen is telling the others that are not in there, Dorinda in there going off. And she is. But Dorinda said, I put myself out there to be murdered tonight. And she said, if I do make it back, things gonna change. Okay, I'm about to turn this shit up. And I hope she makes it through. But Ivar is telling Sandoval that he thinks that she, talking about Dorinda, is a traitor. They gonna butt heads at this round table. I just feel it. But Nikki is apologizing to Dorinda, and it's time for bed. Which means it's time for the traitors to finally meet. Danielle, Bob the drag queen, and Carolyn, they go greet Alan down at the y'all know what. My words ain't coming right now because I'm too excited. But they commit to doing the duties of a traitor. Bob is ready to be ruthless. I'm excited to see it. But there's two in there already hooded. The third one's going to come in later on. But the two that are in there hooded, they unhood. And who is it? The duo I am so excited to see. Bob the drag queen and Danielle, they both are geeked. That both of them are traitors. Especially because they know they was performing their asses off. Danielle said performance of a lifetime. And Bob was like, I didn't even suspect it was you. I love it. I hope they stay locked in. But Bob said that he believed everything she said. He was eating out the palm of her hands. I said, this is the duo. Carolyn, she comes knocking in. She unhides herself. And they all start screaming. She starts screaming. They had no clue it was her either. She didn't suspect them. Danielle and Bob said nobody would suspect you. And she said, I feel good. Then we get a scene of Boston Rob coming up. I told y'all he wasn't going nowhere. And of course, he is a traitor as well. I was geeked. He was geeked. He loves it. He ready to start murdering people. And his fellow traitors won't know that he is a traitor until he joins them the next night. I'm very excited. We got 4 good traitors. Him and Danielle gonna butt heads. I can see him butting heads with Bob. We got a lot of headstrong people, which makes me excited for the murders. Because I feel like with Danielle, Boston Rob, those two, when it comes to getting numbers, they're gonna fight tooth and nail to make sure that they're the one with the upper hand. So that's gonna make for some good deliberations when it comes to the killings. Bob the drag queen, from what I've seen tonight, also gives me that headstrong, like I'm not folding type ass energy. Carolyn, she kind of gives off the scared vibe, but I can see her piping up too. I am super excited. I'm super excited. But we also know there's a couple more game players that are coming into the game. So we got more and more people that I don't think were even mentioned in the cast reveal. So I'm excited to see who those players are. But yeah, great premiere episode. Y'all let me know y'all's thoughts. If y'all got this far, please drop a ghost emoji down here in the chat down here at the bottom. But if you got this far and have not subscribed, please do that, because I'm going to be back tomorrow and Saturday for episode 2 and 3. Keep the spoilers out the comments, even though I'm probably about to watch episode 2 right now. But keep them out the comments. Thumbs up the video if you have not already. Get in the comments for me as well. Let me know y'all's thoughts on this episode. And I will see y'all later. Peace.